Hey everyone, welcome to Modern Maven Astrology and Tarot. I am Andrea Elizabeth, and this is a new channel that is dedicated to promoting ways that we can incorporate knowing astrology into everyday parenting, giving us a new perspective on our relationships with our children, as well as a new perspective on childhood development. The reason I started this channel is because astrology has been extremely beneficial for me in my parenting, and I felt that it was important to share this information with other parents around the world. So thank you for joining me on my channel. A quick disclaimer, just right off the bat, and probably a disclaimer I'll give with every video, I will never privately message you offering a reading or asking for money. So if you do get one of those messages, please report it on whatever platform you are on. It is a scam. Along with the astrology information I will be sharing, I'm also going to be offering free weekly readings for parents of every Western zodiac sign. So stay tuned for that on this channel as well. And if you do like the information that I share, please like, share, comment on this, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notifications so that you know when new videos pop up. Another quick disclaimer when it comes to this information and knowing your child's chart. The information is meant to nurture your relationship and nurture the parenting that you already have established. So we are never trying to force our children to be a certain way, think a certain way, act a certain way. We all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses, and these videos are meant to be a guide into nurturing our children at every stage of development and into adulthood. So if you don't have your chart too, I recommend that you head over to Pam Gregory's website. I'm going to have it linked in the episode description. She is an amazing astrologer. I also recommend subscribing to her. Her new moon and full moon readings are going to be extremely beneficial, especially once you do have yours and your child's chart, because that way you'll know what energies are most prominent, certain astrological events that might be happening that can just help you navigate everyday life and just incorporate more mindful parenting. While you're on there getting your chart and your child's chart, I also recommend that you get your parents' chart, because down the road we will be talking about generational patterning, which also plays a role in how we parent our children today. So yeah, let's just get into it, and we are going to start with the basics of knowing your chart. If you are somebody who already knows astrology, it's great to watch this anyways, because putting it in the perspective of parenting and knowing your child, going through the basics might give you a new perspective. So let's dive into it. All right, so first we have our rising or ascendant. This is your first house. So this is how the outside world perceives you and how you present yourself to others. Now, we all have a mask that we wear, especially, when you're meeting somebody new. This is the part of your personality that comes out in those instances, and it's your public persona is how you could, word it. So when it comes to your child, this kind of is really important when it's those, big stages in their life where they enter preschool, or they enter elementary school, or they enter high school, or they go to college, they start their first job. This personality is definitely going to shine the most. So it's important to nurture the positive aspects of whatever your child's rising sign is. And obviously too, for yourself too. So look at what your rising sign is as well, and see the ways that you can nurture that for yourself too. Because remember, as parents, part of being a parent is learning how to parent ourselves too, especially when it comes to our inner child. And if there's any wounds still left from our childhood, it's a great way to heal ourselves while nurturing our child's development. Next, we have your sun sign. Now, your sun sign is what most of us know of astrology. This is the core of who you are. I like to give this as the example of when you're writing in your diary, your sun sign's writing. So this is what you necessarily might not show everybody. And that also too, depends on how much you were nurtured as a child to to be yourself and express yourself the way you want to express yourself. Now, why this is important with parenting is there are signs that clash. So every sign has its opposite. For instance, for me, I'm a Pisces sun. And so the opposite of Pisces is Virgo. It just so happens that my mom's rising is Virgo. And so when it comes to that kind of energy, you know, let's say if Virgo energy is prominent and um, that energy might clash in our relationship. And so it gives you that perspective of understanding that and knowing, instead of looking at the contrast, the negatives of the contrast, to look at the positives of what it can give you. So for instance, for me as a Pisces, Virgo can really help me when it comes to routine and practical decision making, because that is not one of my strengths. We all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses, we all have our virtues, we all have our vices. And knowing this information, it's very important, especially if your sun or rising is in contrast to your child's sun or rising. You want to look at the positives of that and promote, well, how can you promote and nurture the best parts of this sign. And we will be getting to a breakdown of each sign, a breakdown of each element, because it's very detailed, but I'm just going with this basic chart first, and then we're going to dive into stuff a little deeper down the road. All right, so next we have your moon. Now, your moon sign, I like to describe as how you express emotions and react to other people's emotions. Another reason this is important is because, like I said, when you have those contrasting signs, the way you express your emotions, let's say you are a Capricorn moon, is going to be much different than somebody who is a Pisces moon. And so when you read this information, and again, going back to Pam Gregory's natal charts, they're fantastic because she gives you a breakdown description of everything. And so highlight those things that are the pros and the cons. I don't even want to say cons, but you know, there are, you know, aspects that can be negative, but ways to promote just more positive, healthy aspects of each part of this. So when it comes to your emotions, you know, if you are a Pisces moon, you might want or expect your child to share their emotions, like they're, you know, wear their emotions on their sleeve. But like I said, if they're, you know, a Capricorn moon or a Virgo moon, that's just not how they operate. So for instance, my daughter is a Virgo moon, and the way she expresses her emotions is very foreign to me. But knowing astrology, it put it in such a new perspective for me to be okay, not only be okay with that, but to promote her expressing her emotions the way she needs to do it. And so the way that when she has, you know, an emotional crisis or needs to regulate her emotions, she focuses on, you know, building something or working on something and making something nice and orderly and neat. And that's how she is able to process. And so, you know, it's finding ways to promote that stuff, even if it's outside your comfort zone or what you know. Because as a parent, that's our role is to nurture our children. But again, like I said, along with that, we end up nurturing ourselves and healing our inner child when we do that. Next, we have understanding your Mercury. So Mercury is how you communicate with others. And knowing this obviously is going to be very important when it comes to those times where there is conflict in your relationship with your child or your parent. Like I said, this isn't only information for us as the parents, but us as the child. So if, you know, you have conflict with your parent, let's say you're an adult and you have a conflict with your parent, this is great to understand ways to communicate and get across to each other. And next, Venus. Now, Venus is how you express love, how you expect love, and how you navigate your relationships. Now, some people, you know, the Venus, its home is Taurus, and we're going to be getting to all of that down the road too. And so we have to realize that certain people are going to show their love and express their love in different ways. And like I said, the importance of this and why I love astrology is it lets us see outside of ourselves and our expectations. So I'm a Taurus. My Venus is in Taurus. And so, that is nurturing, loving, and like grounding. And not everybody is going to give love the way I expect it. And so take a look at that there are ways that, if your Venus sign is in contrast to your child's, there are ways that you both can find ways to, find a middle ground, I would like to say. All right, next we have Mars. Now this is a very important one when it comes to parenting, because Mars is how you assert yourself and react when feeling threatened or triggered. Now, obviously, knowing your child is going to be very beneficial as well, because when your child is throwing a tantrum or something is triggering them, this is when their Mars comes out. So this is when that part of their personality comes out. And like I said, as a parent, knowing your Mars is crucial when it comes to those points in time where it's so important that we are an example and regulate our emotions for our children as a guide on how you do react to conflict. So yes, definitely this is the this is the part of your chart to keep in mind when that conflict arises. So I highly recommend this is like one of the first starting points when you're looking at your chart and understanding your child's chart, because it's going to help greatly. And then next we have Jupiter. Now Jupiter is great because it's what comes naturally to you and how you find your luck in life. Because if you know the basics of astrology, you might just think, oh, this is your sun sign and this is everything that I need to focus on. This is the part you want to focus on. Let's say your kid is struggling to find what makes them happy, find their bliss. Look at what their Jupiter is and see the things that might come naturally to them. And then you can find things that you can help nurture them at every stage of development. So that's something else I want to say is we are going to get into the different stages of development. And that will be the next video, is seeing these in the different stages that you can incorporate. So Jupiter, like I said, Jupiter is great, for those kids who are just getting into preschool, just getting into school, trying sports or after school activities. This could be a good guide into finding the things that they might be really good at. And, like I said, it's not to force things on to our children, but to give them options. That's how I would like to word that. All right, now Saturn. Saturn is your limitations, fears, and boundaries. And as we know, boundaries are very important to teach our children. And when it comes to limitations and fears, this is ways that we can help our children overcome, stuff that might be hidden that we might not understand, because your limitations, fears, and boundaries might be in a completely different placement than your child's. So take a look at that. This is also really important too as a parent, because we are protective of our children. We want what's best for our children, and so we can see when those certain fears creep up. It might be related to your Saturn, so pay attention to that part in your chart. Next, we have Uranus, and Uranus is your individuality, the community you seek, and how you change and adapt. So this placement is specific to your generation, and this is so interesting to see, especially with these generations that are coming up, and how Uranus affects the social climate. And knowing this, this will be great when it's that part of development where your child is leaving family life for the public life. But obviously at every time it's, great to nurture. But that's a key factor, is when that adolescent stage from like 12 to 18, you're going to see the traits of this more prominent. And so knowing this and preparing for it and nurturing it is going to be really beneficial for you and your child. All right, Neptune. Now, Neptune is your imagination and your mystic connection. It's your spirit and connection to the unconscious collective, or the collective unconscious. So this is ways, to promote that creativity of your child, to have a connection to the energy of the universe. This is the way that they're going to find that connection. So let's say, for instance, an earth sign like Virgo or Capricorn or Taurus, their spiritual connection is probably going to come a lot from nature and being surrounded by nature and grounding themselves. So a lot of time out, taking nature walks and things like that could really benefit somebody with that type of placement. All right, now Pluto. Pluto is your power and your unconscious urge to transform. Now, we all know that there are stages in life where we rebel, and that, there's that contrast of wanting to be an individual, but also wanting the comfort of community. So knowing this part of you and your child's chart is important, because when we do have those unconscious urges to transform, and what energy is allowing that to happen or causing that to happen. So this placement here is important to realize when we are at those different stages of transformation. Again, when you're entering school, or even, puberty, going off to college, like these are points in time when those energies you will see more prominently. All right, your North Node. Your North Node is your fate and your spiritual purpose in life. Now, this one's very crucial to remind people that the energies of your chart are just guides, and to not force anything onto anyone. But this is wonderful because you can give your child tools that help them encourage this. And, if you do see that they are resonating with the tools that you're giving them, and then you continue, growing on that path. And if they're not, then you find a new alternative. Parenting is a lot of trial and error. But this is a great way to promote your child's relationship with themselves and their center and their connection to the universe. And then along with the North Node, you have your South Node. Now, your South Node is your innate gifts and past life lessons. So this is great too for you as a parent, because there are things that we can learn from the placement here that will really greatly benefit parenting in general. All right, so next week we will be discussing the elements and how the elements of each sign and placement affects your relationship with not only your children, but also with your parents. So just when you are looking at your chart, know that each sign has an element to it. And we will be talking about that, because just like certain signs have contrast, certain elements do too. But remember, contrast is there to benefit us all, and to think positively of contrast when it comes to life. So thank you for tuning into this video. If it did resonate with you, please like, share, comment. Like I said, we will be diving more into every aspect of astrology, and stay tuned for weekly tarot readings coming for every parent of the zodiac. And if you do have any comments or questions, please do below the video, and I will talk to you all soon.